Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you've had a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is we had Pulitzer Prize winning Kendrick Lamar in the news today. This because during Kendrick Lamar's set at the Hangout Festival in Alabama, he invited audience members on stage to rap words with him to Mad City. And one of the people invited up was a white woman that says her name is Delaney.
What's your name?
Delaney.
Make some noise for Delaney right now.
Yes, Delaney. Where we started at?
She said, where we started at. I told you every time.
Swear I got you.
And for those of you that know the lyrics to Mad City, you probably know where this story is going.
Every time I'm in the street, I hear
Wait.
Am I not cool enough for you?
And oh man, did the crowd turn on Delaney. And seemingly Kendrick Lamar along with them, who told her that she needs to just censor that one word.
You gotta bleep one single word
No.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do it?
Yeah, you did it.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
And then even though it sounds like the audience is not fully on board, Kendrick Lamar does try to give her that second chance, and then he just kills the song because it doesn't seem to be working.
Should she stay up here, y'all?
No, please keep me up here. I got you.
Let's go.
Rick, you gotta shut down memory lane. This is not
It's over.
And the reaction from this has been very, very interesting. Some saying they can't believe Delaney did that, it's an example of disgusting behavior, whereas others think, no, you have someone that's quoting your song. Some even going as far to say that either Delaney was set up or all of this was staged for publicity. But on that note, you had people pointing out that Delaney wasn't the only person brought on stage that night to sing that song that wasn't black. There was another person, Kendrick Lamar even references him, Rohan. He did the entire song while omitting the N-word. And you're also seeing a lot of people referencing Travis Scott in this situation, people saying that Kendrick Lamar should have responded like Travis Scott. And what they're referring to there are stories that popped up in April of 2016 titled, Travis Scott lets white rap fans say the N-word on the mic. And in that moment, Travis Scott has the opposite reaction. After that moment, Travis Scott says, this makes me want to cry right now. A lot of years ago, nobody ever wanted to see this happen. Nobody wanted to see me and you fucking with each other tonight in Toronto. I think you just unlocked the last level of tonight in Toronto. And so a lot of people have been referencing that, saying, that an artist's words are transcending race rather than being walled off. And so with all of that said, I do want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around the Kendrick Lamar Delaney situation? Any and all thoughts? I'd love to see those in the comments down below. Then we had a batch of YouTube news and industry quickies. First up, we're seeing the continuation of the merging of internety with mainstream thanks to Liza Koshy and Nickelodeon. It's now been announced that the incomparable Liza Koshy is going to be the host of the brand new reboot of Double Dare. Reportedly, Nickelodeon has ordered 40 episodes. It will premiere June 25th, and for fans of the old show know that the old host, Mark Summers, he's coming back as a commentator for the series. And I'm incredibly excited about this because one, as a child whose babysitter for the most part was a television that was often on Nickelodeon watching Double Dare, hell yes. I'm excited to be able to watch this with my kids. And two, I get excited anytime we see people from the internet succeeding and jumping more and more into the mainstream. Especially when those people, while they're doing that, are not abandoning their internet roots. We also had the 7-man K-pop supergroup BTS setting YouTube records. Their latest music video, Fake Love, set a 2018 record for most views in one day at 35.9 million. As far as all-time records, they're coming in at third, only behind Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do, and Psy Gentleman. But BTS did also set the all-time record for most likes in one day at 3.9 million. That is pure insanity. And the last bit of YouTube news that I think really just hits on what a juggernaut YouTube is at this moment. Reportedly, Morgan Stanley told investors that if YouTube was its own company, they estimate it would have a value of $160 billion. And that's a massive statement for Morgan Stanley because that means that YouTube is worth more than Netflix. It's worth more than Comcast. It has a similar value to Walt Disney Co. And so just more and more we see every day, it is impossible to argue with the numbers. The shift has happened, the shift is happening, and it will be so interesting to see where this goes. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by BetterHelp.com/DeFranco. BetterHelp, if you don't know, is the fantastic place where you can get affordable private online counseling. You get access to licensed, trained, experienced, accredited psychologists, marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, and board licensed professional counselors. All you've got to do is go to BetterHelp.com/DeFranco. You fill out a questionnaire, they match you with a counselor, and you could start counseling today. And really leading into the affordable aspect, after 3 months, the service becomes cheaper for you. If money is an issue, you can see if you're eligible for a financial aid discount. And on a personal note, I genuinely love this service. One, because I feel it's actually like helpful for me personally. And two, just the amount of time that I'm saving and the ease of access is huge. That, and if at any point you feel like your counselor is not the right one, you can change. So if any and all of that sounds interesting to you, you want to check it out, go to betterhelp.com/DeFranco. But a big note, if you are in crisis or someone you know is in danger, do not use this site. I will link separately to resources down below where you can get immediate help. And additionally, it's just really important to be aware of the differences there. And the first bit of awesome, if you're in the mood for some riddles, TED Ed just put out a video called Can You Solve the Wizard Standoff Riddle? Then for the fans of Westworld, HBO released a 13-minute behind-the-scenes video. Then we had a merging of awesome with binging with Babish and Sean Evans battling it out to make the perfect filled calzone. Then we got the first official trailer for Mowgli starring Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch, Frida Pinto. Then in food porn awesome, we got a video from Thrillist about naan and roti tacos. Am I pronouncing that right? Probably not. Then in small creator awesome, I wanted to pimp out Nigel's life. As of recording this video, he only has 264 subscribers. And he put out this interactive video called Who Wants to Be a YouTuber? And the amount of work and the number of videos this guy had to make this possible is awesome. Because in addition to the 15 questions, there is a video for every possible selection, and then also videos for each question that involve if you use a 50-50 lifeline and ask the comments lifeline, or call a YouTuber lifeline, and then versions of the questions where you've used 1, 2, or all of your lifelines. Altogether, it looks like it's 1,162 videos. And I just respect the amount of time that this guy put into it that I had to share it. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then you might remember that fire that swept through the border of Oregon and Washington state last year. It was 48,000 acres. It forced hundreds to evacuate. Some homes were destroyed. Reportedly, it cost the firefighters $18 million to fight the blaze. And then it came out a few days after it started that it was started by a 15-year-old boy. Reportedly, he had been seen throwing fireworks into a dry canyon, and that's how all of this started. And because of that, there were all of these charges against the 15-year-old. He was sentenced to 5 years probation. He was given over 1,900 hours of community service with the U.S. Forest Service. He had to write a bunch of apologies, but the reason we're talking about it today, the big update. Yesterday, a judge ordered that the teen pay restitution for all the damage. And the amount that he has to pay is over $36 million. And reportedly, the $36 million is solely on the teenager, so the parents are not responsible for it. And reportedly, it's also possible that the teenager will only have to pay for 10 years as long as he doesn't commit any more crimes, he doesn't break probation, and he complies with the payment plan. His attorneys are arguing that the decision violates the Constitution because this is cruel and unusual punishment, but that said, for now, the teenager will need to start paying. From that story, we kind of have to shift gears and talk about a very serious and horrific situation that I've not been looking forward to talking about, and that is the school shooting that happened at Santa Fe High School in Texas on Friday. At around 7:30 a.m., the shooter, who was a 17-year-old student at the school, entered the school's art complex hiding weapons under a long trench coat. He was armed with a .38 caliber revolver and a Remington shotgun, and he began shooting at both students and teachers. And survivors of this shooting said he was taunting students as he was shooting at them. Reportedly, police arrived on the scene and engaged with the shooter about 4 minutes into the shooting. The first to confront the shooter was school safety officer John Barnes, a retired Houston police officer. Unfortunately, Barnes was shot in the right arm and is reportedly still in critical condition. Police say they struggled to get a clear shot at the shooter, who would pop his head out from behind a classroom wall and fire at them. And reportedly, their exchange of fire lasted around 25 minutes before he finally surrendered at 8:02 a.m. And around this standoff and exchange, we've seen news reports pop up saying that some of the victims may have actually been caught in the crossfire. And on that note, Galveston County Sheriff Henry Trochesette said, "There were minimal shots fired, at least from us, from law enforcement, but the individual was still trying to shoot us." And at this time, authorities don't believe that any of the victims killed were shot by law enforcement during the crossfire with the suspect, but they're also still waiting for the medical examiner's autopsies to be sure. Also, in addition to the shooter's guns, in a press conference after the arrest, law enforcement said they found explosive devices on and around the campus, and they also later revealed that more were found in the suspect's home and vehicle. Specifically, they found a Molotov cocktail in his vehicle and a CO2-based explosive at his home. As far as where the shooter got his weapons, we had Governor Greg Abbott saying Friday that the weapons were legally owned by the suspect's father, and now in the past day, the Texas Department of Public Safety has confirmed that the guns were owned by the suspect's father. We also learned from the governor that the shooter did not initially plan on giving himself up to police.
We also know information already that the shooter has information contained in journals on his computer and his cell phone that he said that not only did he want to commit the shooting, but he wanted to commit suicide after the shooting. As you probably know, he gave himself up and admitted at the time that he didn't have the courage to commit the suicide, that he wanted to take his own life earlier.
Abbott also going on to say, unlike in some of the other shootings, that there really weren't many warning signs here. He went on to describe a t-shirt that the suspect had on his Facebook page that read "Born to Kill," referred to that as maybe the only, if not the foremost warning sign, and noting that the shooter had no previous history of arrest or confrontation with law enforcement. As far as the motive for this shooting, police are still investigating. We saw some reports come out saying people who knew him said he had been teased and bullied in the past, not just by fellow classmates, but also by football coaches as well. But to that, in a statement on Facebook, the school district says that the bullying accusations by staff are untrue. As far as what the suspect's father said, he told reporters that his son was a good boy who had been mistreated at school, which he believes was the reason behind the shooting, adding, "My son to me is not a criminal, he's a victim." To which I know that I'm just trying to tell the story and the events that took place, but I just have to hop in and say, no, your son is not a victim. He is a mass murdering monster. The only victims in the situation are the families that were torn apart by your son. The victims in this situation are the people that should have been waking up today, but are not because of your son. Just so we're clear. Others saying that he had seemed depressed, withdrawn for the past few months. Connected to this, we also saw this really sad and disgusting sideshow from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. In addition to several other statements, one that really stood out is that he seemed to blame abortion and violent video games.
Should we be surprised in this nation? We have devalued life, whether it's through abortion, whether it's the breakup of families, through violent movies, and particularly violent video games, which now outsell movies and music.
But we also heard from Sadie Rodriguez, the mother of victim Shanna Fisher, who told news outlets that she believes her 16-year-old daughter was intentionally targeted by the shooter, saying he kept making advances on her and she repeatedly told him no. He continued to get more aggressive, adding that these advances went on for 4 months, and finally about a week ago her daughter stood up to him in the middle of class to proclaim she would not go out with him. And so she believes the incident embarrassed the shooter so much that he targeted Shanna. And Shanna's father Thomas said that Shanna told her mother 2 weeks ago that he was going to come and kill her, saying he had told her himself he was going to kill her. He was walking around planning this in his head for 2 weeks. Shanna said that if he came into the school with a gun and killed her, she would haunt him for the rest of his life. She was really scared. However, the shooter's attorney has disputed these claims, telling media outlets, "I will say that my client did not recognize the name Shanna Fisher." But then also adding, "I still think he's very confused about the incident," and also taking aim at Shanna's mother, saying she was not particularly involved in her life and may not be in a position to know this. And over the weekend, we learned that the suspect admitted in a statement to police that he meant to kill the classmates that he shot while sparing students that he liked so that he could have, quote, his story told. Which is once again why on this show, anywhere that we ever post as far as news that I am putting out from my company, we never show these monsters' faces, we never show their names. The last thing I would want to do is give a garbage person like this what they want, and also it essentially incentivizes other people that are in similar situations to do the same exact thing. And I also want to commend any other news outlet that follows that kind of same guideline. We're seeing more and more organizations adopt that policy. I even saw CNN's Anderson Cooper saying in his coverage he's not going to include the name or face. That said, he's just one person on that network, and if you search through CNN, the shooter's face is plastered all over there. And not even just on their website, their YouTube video is currently on trending with the guy's face right there. I mean, I feel like it's common sense. I mean, I feel like this is probably one of the only topics that both a Ben Shapiro and a David Hogg agree on. That, of course, is just a side piece to this story. I think that news organizations can just do better, be better. But back to the main part of the story, the shooter has been charged with capital murder of multiple persons and aggravated assault against a public servant. He has been charged as an adult, he has been jailed without bond, but even if he's found guilty, he can't be sentenced to death because of a 2005 U.S. Supreme Court ruling. That court ruling banning execution of criminals younger than 18, calling it cruel and unusual punishment, which violates the 8th Amendment. And additionally, he also can't be sentenced to life without parole as a result of a 2012 Supreme Court ruling that banned the practice for minors charged with capital crime. But after that Supreme Court ruling, Texas passed their own law that made the mandatory minimum sentence 40 years. So essentially that means the maximum sentence he could get is life with the possibility of parole after 40 years. But ultimately the last thing that I want to hit on, the last thing that I want to focus on are the victims and heroes. 8 of the 10 victims killed were students: Kimberly Vaughn, Shanna Fisher, Angelique Ramirez, Christian Riley Garcia, Jared Black, Sabika Sheik, Christopher Jake Stone, Aaron Kyle McLeod. The other 2 killed were substitute teachers Glenda Perkins and Cynthia Tisdale. One of the victims, 15-year-old Christian Riley Garcia, is being hailed as a hero for his brave actions during the shooting. His family pastor saying that Christian held a door shut in the art hallway, giving other students time to escape. Another survivor saying that in addition to this, she saw him move to help 2 others get off the floor before she fled. And unfortunately, he was shot through the door, and he and the 2 he tried to help were killed. But still, because of him, others were able to escape out the back corridor. 17-year-old Christopher Stone is also being hailed as a hero. His family telling reporters that he was shot and killed while he was also trying to hold a door closed from inside a closet with other students. The 2 school resource officers who responded to the shooting are also being praised. The sheriff saying they contained him to that one area, isolated to them, engaging with them, so he did no more damage to other classes. There's of course also been a lot of thanks for teachers who warned other students, helped them get out, and of course thanks to other law enforcement that came on the scene and prevented any other lives being taken. Also, outside of people that were at the actual school, we're also seeing others step up. J.J. Watt, defensive end for the Houston Texans, offering to pay for the victims' funerals. There have also been multiple GoFundMes started for the victims of this shooting that I'll link to down below. And ultimately, that is where we are right now. We expect more information to kind of trickle through this week, following week. I do, of course, want to add, I know it's just words, but my heart and my well wishes to everyone affected by this. And it's always the stories like this that remind me to love who I have in my life and let them know I love them whenever possible, because you never know in this horrible, horrible world when you or someone else will be stripped from it. All it takes is one monster. And that is unfortunately where I'm going to end today's show. Of course, with this being the Philip DeFranco Show, I give you the news, sometimes my opinion, and of course I'd love to hear from you, whether it be the last story, the first one, anything in between. Let me know your thoughts in those comments down below. Also, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell to turn notifications on so you don't miss these daily news videos. And actually, if you missed yesterday's show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you need something lighter, you can watch the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.